Salut tout le monde et bienvenue à cette vidéo. Si vous ne savez pas, je parle deux langues. Je parle anglais et français. Pour anglais, je parle anglais parce que je viens du Nigeria et au Nigeria, c'est notre langue officielle et pédagogique. Et je parle français parce qu'avant de venir en France, j'ai décidé d'apprendre la langue française parce que à l'époque, j'ai pensé que ici en France, il n'y a pas beaucoup de gens qui parlent anglais. C'est faux. Surtout à Paris, il y a beaucoup de personnes qui parlent anglais ici. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how I learned French, how I became fluent in French, and how you can do it too. So join me on this journey, on this vlog. I'm about to step out so that we can explore the process of learning a new language, especially when it comes to French. So basically my journey with French was a very long one. Like I didn't like just use 1 year and focus on French and get fluent in the language. No, that's not how it worked for me. So for me, I started learning French because I knew that I always wanted to study abroad. Like I knew that. And very early on, I saw the direction of where Nigeria was going and had a feeling that it might not be possible for me to like travel without doing something. I didn't know whether I'll be able to get millions and millions to be able to travel abroad. So I did some research and I realized that there were countries in Europe where you could learn the language and study essentially for free, or what I thought was free. For instance, in France, tuition starts from 254 euros, which is less than 500,000 naira. So for all intensive purposes, for me, that was like really good. That was like more than okay for what I was looking for. There's also like Germany, Austria, and other countries where it is that cheap to study. But for me, like France was the easiest option, if that makes any sense. So since now I knew that I would go to France or I would want to study in France, what was next? The next thing was to research about the country itself and find out what are the things I can do to better my chances to study there for my masters. So what are those things I could do? And the number one thing that I saw that kept coming up was to learn the language, like learn French as fast and as much as possible. All this internal dialogue was happening when I was 17 in secondary school in SS3, at the beginning of my SS3. So I wasn't even 17 at the time, maybe I was 16. End of SS2, beginning of SS3. So I decided to start learning French. And I'll go to the library, get French books. I will hide it from my classmates because French has a bad rapport in Nigeria, right? And we had just dropped French like 2 years prior. So like, why would I be learning French? I didn't want to tell people that. So on my own, I would like go to the library, get like French books to study. I had a conversation with a man they call Monsieur Gaba. He was our French teacher at the time for the junior school. And he gave me some guides on how I can actually do it effectively. So I learned a little. Fast forward to 2018 when I was already out of school and I was supposed to enter university, but I did not get admission. No, 2017, same 2017, I did not get admission into the university, so I decided to go to Alliance Française to learn French. And I did my A1 and A2 in 2018. The only reason why I stopped is that I had to write my JAM, that's my second JAM, in order to get into the University of Nigeria. And based on that, I had not gotten admission with my first JAM to the University of Lagos. I was not willing to risk like combining two things. I just wanted to write my JAM and get it over with. So I stopped the French classes, went for like 2 months of JAM preparation and wrote my JAM. And when I wrote my JAM, I got into University of Nigeria to study electronics engineering, as I've previously mentioned in my videos. So I went to the University of Nigeria, and while I was in school, there was also an Alliance Française in Nsukka at the time where we were to pay like 9,000 or 6,500. I can't really remember. And I did some classes there. Then I was not really preparing for an exam. Fast forward to 2022. Okay, apart from these goals I've mentioned, I also loved foreign language because before then I could only speak English, right? And I knew that only being able to speak English was a disadvantage, both in Nigeria and abroad. I was like, well, I'm really going to like make an effort to learn French. So even when I was not in like language school for the language, I was still like doing my own due diligence, listening to like podcasts online, I was basically studying French all the time. To the point that my cousins would be asking me like, why are you studying French? And in order not to like expose my goals, I would just say I like the language, but which was actually the truth. I actually genuinely liked French. So fast forward to 2022, there was a strike. I was still in university then, and there was a nationwide strike. And I traveled back to Lagos. And in order not to waste time, I went back to Alliance Française and prepared for the B1 exam. So I wrote the French B1 exam in 2022 and I passed it. Thank God. That was the first French exam I ever wrote. I had done A1 and A2 classes, but I never wrote the exam. So B1, I wrote it and I passed. And I passed pretty well, right? So after that now really solidified in my mind that I really wanted to do this French thing and learn it as far as I can. And I decided then that I was going to learn do my B2 after I graduated school. So while I was still in school, I was still doing my final exams. I had a job at the time. For context, I was a mobile developer. So I was working with like 1 or 2 companies at the time and also learning the French. And immediately I finished school, I then, instead of like going back to Lagos immediately, I then went to go and learn, went to Alliance Française in Enugu and did my B2 exam there. Met a lot of like funny people and made a lot of friends. Amaka, I see you. Amaka is in France now, but she does not have my time. So Amaka, I see you. Actually, like most of the people that I met there, some of them are like doing stuff with the language that they got, right? The language certificate. And I wrote the B2 exam last year in December of 2024 and I passed it. At this time, I was also simultaneously applying for master's degrees. I applied to like 19 schools, got into a few, and then decided to choose Lokinam, that is Conceptual National Design MIT, which I'm currently studying a master's in telecommunications and networks engineering. So now, obviously, when you say you want to learn a foreign language, the whole thing doesn't stop by you like passing an exam, probably like stopping your school. No, you have to like, it's a lifelong journey to like be fluent in the language. So in my school and in most schools and programs in France, you still have to take like French courses, right? For instance, if your master's is like 2 years, French courses might be like, when I say French courses, I mean like actual French classes. French as a foreign language will be taken as a course in your school during your program. There's also the opportunity of, let's say your master's is 2 years, you can do your first year of your master's, then switch to an FLE, like French as a foreign language program before doing your second year. The reason why this is necessary is because, not necessary but important or advisable, is because getting a job after your master's is not like as easy as it seems. And in your second year of master's, you have to apply and get an internship, which is compulsory. And most schools do not help you out with this process of getting an internship. You have to do it by yourself. So if you are currently doing your master's and you cannot speak a word of French and you're in France, I would advise you to, like, after your first year, do a 1-year program in French, like learn French for 1 year, get the French certificate, like get as high as maybe a B2 or a C1, right? Then go back for your second year of masters, so that when you are looking for an internship from that second year, the language will not be a barrier for you. If you don't do this, you're still going to have a problem. So as I mentioned, in my master's degree, they group you according to the levels you are in. And since I've already done my B2 exam and all of that, I'm in C1 class. So I'm currently doing like a C1 level university courses, right, during my master's. And also, like, if you want, as I mentioned, you can also do FLE after your first year of master's. So by the time you're ready to enter the job market, language is not a barrier for you. You understand? Like, you do not need to like start worrying about, oh, I have to leave France, I have to leave the Republic to like go to like the UK or look for an England. If you say you're only looking for English, companies to hire you, it limits your options. So as I've mentioned, that's my whole journey with French. So now, what's next? What can you do to learn French as fast as possible? What was my advice? My first advice is that you take it level by level. So for you to be considered fluent in French, you need a B2 level, right? I've made a previous video about the European language levels. But for you to be considered fluent, you need a B2 level. And if you are doing French for like full time, I think B2 C1 level should take you about a year, 6 months. So 18 months, 12 to 18 months, right? Of 20 to 30 hours of study a week. What does this mean? It means that it's not easy to do and it will take time, right? But if you take it level by level, you would make a lot of progress in in less time than you think. So for example, A1 should take you 4 to 6 weeks to prepare for and write the exam, right? So if you like go to Alliance Française, which I highly advise, it's expensive, but you will make so much progress that it will surprise you. So go to Alliance Française, do your A1 classes, do your A2 classes, prepare for the exam and write the exam. Another advice I will give is that you should register the exam before you are ready. So let's say you want to take the exam in January, register it now, pay for the exam now. It's not so expensive, about 35,000 naira. Go to Alliance Française in Ikeja, go to Alliance Française in Ikoyi. If you are not in Lagos, just type Alliance Française in Nigeria. There are a lot of them, if not Alliance Française, Institut Française. So look for a language school, register for the exam, and start preparing for the exam. If you do not register for the exam ahead of time, you will not write the exam. Like, you will always be postponing it. That's the first thing. Secondly, don't be so scared about being fluent and being able to speak there. It might seem like a ginormous task, but take it from me that did it. It's not impossible to do, right? And it's not even as difficult as people make it out to be. When I was doing my B2 class, there was a girl there, I'm not going to mention her name, but at the time she was 16 and she was trying to get into university to do her she was trying to study medicine for her medical school, University of Nigeria. She was in B2 class with us, and when it was time to register for the exam, she wanted to register for B1, and I advised her not to register for the B1 because you're already in B2 class. Why don't you try the hardest exam you can possibly do, so that if you pass it, like, you move on, right? And you can move on to like the C1 or actually perfect your B2 skills. And she took my advice and she registered for the B2 exam. And lo and behold, she scored more than me. Me that was advising her. She scored more than me. So you can just imagine. So once you don't put that barrier or that fear in yourself, you'll be able to like achieve the level of language that you need for whatever you're applying for. So again, just to reiterate, it took me a long time to learn French, but typically it should take you 18 months. That's 1 year and 6 months to get to like a C1 level or a B2 level. And it's something that, yes, you can do it part-time, but I'll advise you to do it full-time if you have the freedom to do so. Et actuellement, je parle français. Même si je ne parle pas couramment, je suis pas perdu dans la langue française. Je peux communiquer, je peux m'exprimer, je peux lire, écrire, parler, et les Français me comprendre et je comprends les Français. Ça, c'est le but d'apprentissage d'une langue étrangère. That is the goal of learning a foreign language, to communicate in the language so that people who are native speakers of the language are able to understand you. And when they speak to you, you are able to understand them, you are able to read, you are able to write. That's the goal. Once you're able to get this, even if there's some context you might not be able to understand, like if I'm in the academic context or going for like a conference, I might be a little bit lost, right? But again, that's not the goal. The goal is not to be native level in 1 month. The goal is to gradually be able to communicate in a foreign language, because it actually opens opportunities for you. For instance, there's a program called TAPIF, and I actually got TAPIF. I got the job to come to France to work for 6 months, but I decided to turn that down and come as a student for personal reasons, right? But with the TAPIF program, you're able to, like, without any experience, all you need is a B1 level, sometimes a B2, and you're able to come to France to work. And the pay is pretty good. It's about 1,000 euros a month. right? Which is in naira is more than 1.6 million naira a month. And cost of living here is not ridiculous. 1,000 euros a month, you will have excess to even like travel to other European countries because you still get like the Schengen visa. So in terms of learning a foreign language, there are a lot of advantages for you. And I get the fear of I don't know French. French is when I was in secondary school or when I was in primary school, I hated French, this, that. You're just wasting, you're making excuses for yourself, and nobody is going to come to save you if your goal is to leave Nigeria to come to France. So, and even if you're able to get like English language programs to come to France, there's still the language barrier in terms of getting student jobs, working in a restaurant, working in a hotel. Like you will still have to like go there and talk to those people to drop your CVs. And yes, there are people that speak English, but a lot of French people are reluctant to speak English because their level of English for them is embarrassing. But to me, they speak a very good English, right? So this is my story, and I've also explained how you can learn French yourself. And come on, look at this beautiful place. If anything is to motivate you, imagine living in a society where things work. Like things actually work here. So like once you have the money to come, you're able to like get a job, a student job that can pay your rent, feed you. You're pretty much good. Renewing your visa is not too much of a problem. It takes time, right? And if you get a master's here, you can renew your visa for 1 year to get a job, to look for a job and get a job, right? So like there are a lot of advantages. You can travel to Germany, you can travel to the Netherlands. So if you can and it's only language that is stopping you, why not start now? If you start now, this is second week of November. By January, you should have your A1. By March, you should have your A2. By May, you should have your B1. Then by September, you should have your B2. It's pretty that simple. Like, it's honestly that simple. So challenge yourself today and actually learn French if you want to. As they say, a word is enough for the wise. Ouais, à tout à l'heure. À la prochaine vidéo. Au revoir.